G'day and welcome again to Pure Property Investment One-on-One. I'm joined today by Tuan Dung from Duo Tax. Tuan, thanks for joining us, mate. We're a buyer's agency and we're investment property buyer's agency as well as owner-occupier buyer's advocates. In the investment property space, from a quantity surveyor perspective, we are big proponents in making sure you maximise your cash flows, maximise your profits. Obviously, that is why we're ultimately buying investment properties. From that perspective, what I'd ask from your side and where your expertise lies, mate, is what is a depreciation schedule and what are some of the things that investors probably need to know? Because as far as I'm aware, oils ain't oils when it comes to property and depreciation. And I think from your side of things, you sit on the right side of the ledger to be able to give guidance and understanding on what people need to consider.
More than happy to, Paul. So I guess a lot of the most commonly found with investment properties is that there's various types of properties that we can look at. Certain properties will yield higher depreciation relative to older properties. I guess one of the key factors is that newer assets have high residual values in their components and ultimately provide high depreciation. When we look at a depreciation schedule, there are two components, being capital works. Yep. And also plant and equipment. So capital works ultimately is the bricks and mortar of a property. From the build date, we're allowed to claim 40 years of depreciation. Anything built after September 1987 is entitled to claim that building allowance. With plant and equipment, it is claimable regardless of the age of the building. So regardless if it's built in the 50s or 60s, we can claim that depreciation on those plant and equipment items, and they can be carpets, air conditioners and whatnot. Now, with some legislative changes that have come into play with the proposed changes from the federal budget, there are some new rulings around that have been drafted, and that has more to do with plant and equipment. And the problem with that is people are claiming these depreciable assets over and over again, and also, as you would know, that would always be called double dipping, so to speak. So what the government is trying to do is limit that depreciation claiming to only just capital works. So for example, if you've got a property that's built in 1987, you can claim depreciation on the capital works component, but because it's a second-hand property at this age that you bought, say, yesterday, then effectively you will no longer be able to claim the plant and equipment side of things. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think, as you said, there's probably a few key changes lately in the May 9th federal budget 2007, which is probably worthwhile noting when you do buy an investment property or are potentially planning on buying your next property. And not to say, and from my side of I guess of the ledger, and I think you're quite aligned to this as well, Tuan, is that depreciation isn't necessarily a reason to buy property. Depreciation is a surrogate, it's a bonus, it helps cash flow and potentially can assist in holding your portfolio for longer without injecting further cash into it. However, just because a property is new and has a higher intrinsic residual cash flow or residual depreciation as compared to a 50s or 60s property, for example, doesn't mean it's going to perform over the 20 years better from a capital growth perspective. So you really need to understand what you're buying, why you're buying it, and is depreciation going to be something you're relying on to make sure you keep your head above water? Word to the wise if it is. I think it's a pretty dangerous strategy, but I think it's worthwhile knowing that if you do buy a property, make sure you talk to someone like Tuan in his position to give you the full understanding of what you can claim to maximise your cash flow in that property. So it's key, guys, to have that discussion if you haven't had so already, or if you're planning to buy that next property, engaging someone like Tuan in that quantity surveyor space to give you the advice and ultimately draft up a schedule which can hopefully probably better your tax position and better your cash flow on that property long term. I hope you found that quite useful, and if you do want to get in touch with Tuan or anyone from his team, his details are at the bottom of the screen. Likewise with ours, you can contact us as per our number below, and we'll chat to you soon. Cheers.